I just watched Linus struggle with his MacBook for 30 days, and surprisingly, he still had a lot of really good things to say about it. But as for the problems he did have with it, I kept thinking, these aren't actually problems. There are so many hidden shortcuts and buried settings that could have made his experience a lot better. And that's why in this video, I'm sharing the Mac tips that could have saved Linus hours of frustration. It might just save you some too. But first, a segue to my sponsor, UGREEN. The UGREEN NAS Sync DH4300 Plus is the most beginner-friendly NAS solution. It works a lot like cloud storage, but instead, all your data is stored locally on your own hard drives. All you have to do is lift the top cover, slide your hard drives into the 4 disk bays, and then with NFC Quick Connect, you can hold up your phone to the drive to download their app and be guided step by step on how to set up your own personal cloud. The 4 bays allow you to install up to 120 terabytes of storage with a wide range of compatible hard drives. You can upload or download your files from anywhere on any device, including Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS. And it's fast, with a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port that can transfer a 1 gigabyte file in just a few seconds. If you want additional backup or data migration options, you can sync the data on your NAS to Google Drive, or just keep everything stored locally on your own drives, knowing they'll be safe and secure thanks to the built-in security manager. Even the optional AI album assistant runs locally on the drive without an internet connection to help make organizing your photos effortless. UGREEN NAS gives you all the benefits of cloud storage without having to pay an endless monthly subscription fee. This is just a one-time purchase, and right now, UGREEN is offering 20% off for Black Friday, which you can get by using the link in this video's description. Big thanks to UGREEN for sponsoring, and now a segue back to Linus.
The first thing that made me want to huck my Mac at the wall was screenshot management. First, to get to it, you have to hit Command Shift 3, 4, or 5, which is not as easy to remember as print screen.
That's totally fair. These keyboard shortcuts aren't as intuitive as print screen, but they do give you quick access to the 3 primary ways people capture screenshots: full screen, a selection, or accessing other screenshot tools like screen recordings. Additionally, when you press Command Shift 4 to make a selection, you can tap the space bar to switch it to a window capture mode instead.
By default, all of the screenshots just out onto your desktop, which is a nightmare for clutter.
This is true. However, if you right-click the desktop, you can turn on a feature called Stacks, which automatically organizes everything on your desktop by file type. Or if you want to change where your screenshots are saved, press Command Shift 5, and then under Options, you can choose a new location for both screenshots and screen recordings. So for example, you could choose Other Location and then create a Screenshots folder within the Pictures folder, and now that will become the new default for future screenshots.
The thing that really bothered me though was that the Share button gives you a whole bunch of great options as long as you only want Apple options, when in practice, I nearly always want to share via Teams or Gmail.
Yeah, the share sheet is pretty inconsistent across macOS, and honestly, I pretty much only use it if I want to airdrop something. So here's a couple tips to make sharing screenshots a little easier. If you add the Control key to the Command Shift 3 keyboard shortcut, it will automatically save the screenshot to your clipboard. It's a little easier for Command Shift 4, as all you need to do is hold down the Control key before releasing your cursor. Now you can paste the screenshot anywhere you want. If you forget to use the Control key, however, you can right-click on the floating thumbnail to save it to your clipboard there, or you can just drag and drop the floating thumbnail directly into any app you want.
Oh, and that integrated markup tool is so bad.
Tell me about it!
Unfortunately, they did not tell us about it, but based on the B-roll they used, yeah, when it comes to sketching or drawing on a screenshot with a Mac, it's not the best. There's plenty of other markup tools like adding text, signatures, shapes and arrows, or even a magnifying glass. But as Linus himself said,
if I'm not enjoying their product, it's probably because I haven't bought enough of their other products yet.
And the reason I bring that up is because you have the option to mark up your screenshots with another Apple device, like an iPhone or iPad. So you could even take advantage of the Apple Pencil, and it will automatically update on your Mac. Now, I know this has been a lot on screenshots already, but Linus shared one other screenshot frustration on an episode of The WAN Show that I want to quickly address.
And what's funny is that this screenshot preview, it's like an app, but it also isn't an app because if you look up at the top bar, it's still Safari up here. So I cannot quit this app by going up here.
That's what Apple calls a preview window.
I can totally see why that interface seems confusing. Screenshots used to save automatically, but since macOS Mojave, they changed it to work more like iOS. And you wouldn't consider this an app on the iPhone. You can't swipe away or go home and then return to it. Instead, what you're seeing isn't an app, but rather a feature Apple calls QuickLook. On a Mac, whenever you select a file, pressing the spacebar will open up a preview of that file without needing to actually open up any corresponding app. And you can do a lot of stuff within this preview, like copy text, watch and trim videos, or even interact with a 3D file. It's a really powerful feature, but if you don't like the experience when it comes to screenshots, swiping right on the floating thumbnail will make it immediately disappear and save the file, or you can turn off the feature altogether within the screenshot options, and then you can always get back to this experience by selecting a screenshot and pressing the spacebar.
Window management initially was a huge problem for me. After downloading tiles though and setting it up, this is fantastic.
Window tiling was definitely a long overdue feature on macOS, but the reason why it took so long is because Microsoft actually held a patent on the feature that finally expired last year. I'm glad Alex found a third-party solution that works for him, but for anyone using the built-in experience, I've got a couple quick tips to help. First, rather than dragging a window all the way to the edge of the screen, hold down the Option key and you'll see these snap zones appear instead. And you may already know some additional resizing options are available by hovering over or holding down the green traffic light, but what you may not know is holding Option will bring up even more resizing choices.
Now, one thing that made me furious is that the first time you click on an application, it just focuses on that application instead of actually putting the cursor into the field that you clicked on or actuating the button that you wanted to press.
I've got to be honest, I didn't even realize that this was an issue until you brought it up. And now that I'm aware of it, I'm kind of infuriated by the need for a second click. The thinking behind this bad design choice is to prevent users from making any accidental clicks. But get this, in iPadOS 26, the iPad is finally getting resizable windows and improved window tiling, and I can freely tap between any open window whether it's active or not.
What the heck, Apple?
There's really only one workaround I found for this, and that's holding down the Command key when clicking on an inactive window. This lets you rearrange windows and click on buttons without making them the active one, but you're still not going to be able to click into a search field or text field with just one click.
One thing that wasn't as easy to fix was getting this thing to output to my monitor correctly. What I found was that once I connected it, there was no obvious way to increase my refresh rate or to independently adjust scaling and resolution. Why do I need a third-party tool for this? I thought it's supposed to just work.
Now, I actually agree with Linus here, but I did think it was a little odd that he said there was no obvious way to adjust the resolution or refresh rate while showing B-roll of the display settings where those options are clearly visible. But that said, he's totally right about scaling. Once you pick a resolution, you're stuck with whatever scaling Apple chooses. That's a real limitation, and I'm glad Linus found a third-party tool to fix this. However, I just want to quickly defend the philosophy of it just worked. I set off the fanboy alert. I just wanted to say, whenever Apple says it just works, they're referring to an experience where a user doesn't have to think about anything or mess with any settings. But I don't think they've ever described their external display experiences as something that just works. So there's no excuse for something this basic to be missing on macOS.
Dude, holding down the delete key, is infuriating. I am literally like dying as I wait for the cursor to nom up all the characters that I've typed.
For this one, open System Settings, click on Keyboard, and then adjust the key repeat rate to be faster and the delay until repeat to be shorter. If even the fastest built-in settings aren't fast enough for you, use the Option key to delete a word at a time or the Command key to delete a line at a time.
We didn't put this in here, but can I complain about MagSafe for a second?
Yeah,
I freaking hate this thing.
Dude,
it falls out all the time.
Hey Reese, can you throw those to me? Check this out. They still look great, don't they? That's because I haven't touched them. They're so USB-C all the things.
This is actually a perfect example of how we as users sometimes get it wrong. We all begged Apple to bring back MagSafe after they removed it in 2016, but now that we have it back, most of us just use USB-C anyway. That said, the falling out issue is by design, but if you find it's falling out even during normal use, then yeah, that's definitely an issue.
It feels like Apple actively encourages users to throw their personal iCloud data and passwords onto that same laptop without much regard for whether it's for personal use or for work use.
Yeah, on Windows, it's super easy to have a work Chrome and a personal Chrome so that I can keep my professional algorithm and my personal algorithm separate.
I think that's a fair observation about iCloud on Mac, but there are a couple things you can do to keep your personal and professional lives separate. First, Safari does now offer profiles, which lets you create multiple different browsing profiles for things like work, school, or research, all with different bookmarks, extensions, and website data. So your browsing algorithms would be separated, but this experience is still tied to a single iCloud account, rather than what Chrome does, where you can have two separate Google accounts. So another solution is to set up separate user accounts on your Mac, one for work and one for personal. You can add a different iCloud account for both users, or just not even sign into iCloud on one of them. And then you'll have complete separation. And switching between these two accounts is super fast with the menu bar shortcut and Touch ID.
You can run games that are Windows exclusive by using software like Parallels.
I know there will probably be a bunch of people in the comments saying, oh, I run games fine on Parallels and it's great. I am a professional electronics nitpicker, and I have found the latency just a bit immersion breaking.
It turns out the comments weren't actually flooded with people defending Parallels for gaming. Instead, everyone seemed to be mentioning Crossover, which isn't actually a VM solution, but rather a compatibility layer with much less overhead. I can't speak to it personally, but the consensus seems to be that it's one of the best choices if performance is what matters most to you. But otherwise, you're not going to get much of an argument from me about gaming on a Mac. If you want to see me take on Linus's iPhone experience, check out this video next. But fair warning, I learned a lot from the feedback on that one, and I hope it's been reflected in this video, so you may still learn something new about the iPhone, but there's a reason why I had to get this fanboy alert installed. I'm Nick Bradley, thank you so much for watching.